Hey, what's up, everyone? It's your boy Tyler. Welcome to another episode of Draw and Talk, where we talk about making comics and indie comics. I have two awesome creators on the show today, and we're going to be talking about social media. We're going to be talking about politics, and we're going to be talking about the ethics on, how you can maneuver through social media in the current political climate. Very good topic for today, since the midterm elections are currently going on in America. And someone who's a little bit more like center and a little more conservative and right wing. It's nice to have two gentlemen on the show who are the opposite side of me politically. We're gonna have a good discussion, and hit us up in the chat, ask us some questions. Let's have a good discussion. So first off, we got Jeff and Robin. Jeff, tell us about your comic book.
All right. The name of my comic book is The Nightmare Patrol. It's a 4-issue miniseries, retro action horror about a team of monsters, a vampire, werewolf, a golem, and a witch that's brought together by the government to stop a demon called Legion that's taken over a small town and is invading a military base. So it's kind of very high octane, a lot of tongue-in-cheek humor, but it's kind of like the nice old school retro Marvel feel to it, like the 70s, 80s style. And
you know what I think is really cool? Everyone, go on Comicsology. I'm screen sharing this, right? Go on Comicsology and type in The Nightmare Patrol. I was just checking this out, guys. $2.99. That's very affordable. Any person can afford $2.99. If you can't, go mow someone's lawn. But I mean, just look at this artwork. Yeah, I agree. It's very, very reminiscent of like old school Marvel. I mean, this is a very good looking book. And so, are you only in is this a strictly digital book? It's only on Comicsology, or do you guys have print versions? Like, how do you do this?
We do have print versions. We're in over 40 stores nationwide, mostly the East and Midwest. We can also ship right through our Facebook page. Just give us a message, and we'll ship it right to you. And we're obviously active at most conventions on the East Coast.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, everyone, go to check that out. And then we got Robin here, and he's currently running a Kickstarter for Tragic Tales of, is it horror?
Old English.
And everyone, real quick, give Robin a shout out, because he is in the UK and it's 2:30 a.m. in the morning. He stayed up to do this show. So in the chat, please give him some love. And the best way you can give him some love right now is to checking out his Kickstarter, which I'm going to put in the chat right now. But Robin, tell us about your book.
Okay, so the Collected Tales of Horror, it's collecting 4 issues of something we've done as single issues. Start there, kind of, it's an anthology series in the vein of like creepy and, you know what I mean, eerie and stuff like that. And basically it's done in the kind of, I suppose, British tradition of black and white. I don't want to say future shocks like in 2000 AD, but there's normally a bit of a stinger, you know, in the tale of the stories and stuff like that. And we work with a lot of really great artists over here. We work with a big kind of Scottish contingent of artists, and basically, yeah, it's like kind of there's straight horror in there. There's psychological stuff and things like that. And we're kickstarting to collect it into one beautiful little trade paperback to kind of sit on everybody's shelves and stuff like that. So, wow, you know what I mean? Oh, it's great. It's weird to see that in dollars.
Well, guys, I mean, I'm on the Kickstarter right now. They're looking for, this is in dollars, so it's $3,900. At $2,600, 129 mother freaking backers. That's amazing.
This is like the 4th Kickstarter I've done. I'm part of like a comic collective called Madius Comics, and we like to kind of make stuff that's a bit strange, a bit weird and stuff like that. I mean, we've done this. We do another anthology series which is called Paperbacks and Inkstains, which is much more kind of sci-fi horror comedy slant on stuff, you know what I mean, which could be a lot of fun. We kickstarted that. We took £4,500, which I'm sorry, I don't know what would be in dollars. Probably about $6,000 to $7,000 dollars, I suppose. And then we do a series called Griff Gristle, which is kind of very Mignola in style, and it's about this kind of cranky, cantankerous old fisherman who's the last line of defense against the monsters of the deep and stuff. You know what I mean? So,
no, you know, the artwork is amazing, though. I mean, it's all black and white, and it looks great. Look at that, guys.
The artwork you got there, that's by a guy called Alistair Woods, and Alistair's incredible. He's done some stuff for Self-Made Hero, which is a publisher over here in the UK, and that was written by Alan Moore's daughter, Leah Moore. Her and her husband. He's worked with them. I know them. They're fantastic people. You know what I mean? They're really supportive. In fact, John Repian's doing the introduction to the written introduction that we're going to have in the collection horror as well. You know what I mean? So
no,
it's a really working in the community over here. You know what I mean? I like comic creators.
So we got Britain. We got hey everyone. We got for the people who are watching, please let me know in the chat. Say hi. Ask us some questions. If anything, just say hi so I can give you a shout out. But we got Britain here, and Britain's asking Robin, do you like our what do you think of our Dirty Yank comics, and are you into 2000 AD?
I'm into 2000 AD. I like 2000 AD, and I like American comics as well. I mean, like one of my I'm just trying to think. I'm quite tired. I'm sorry. We've been hard to, but like one of my favorite writers, I really love Rick Remender. Is that how you pronounce Remender? You know what I mean? Brian. He's great American. You know what I mean? In fact, you don't look at stuff and go, "Oh, I have to read a British writer." You know what I mean, or things like that. I'm not that native. You know what I mean, and stuff. And the fact is, there's so many good writers, and obviously you just take in all that kind of stuff from all over the place, you know, and kind of bring that. But yeah, 2000 AD, big fan of that. Future Shocks that they have in there, like I mentioned, they've been a bit of a kind of what's the word? Yeah, big influence kind of on like the kind of stuff they do. And I've worked with a guy called PJ Holden who draws Judge Dredd, you know what I mean, and stuff. And he's worked for 2000 AD and everything else, which is really cool, you know. And
do you know? Have you ever come across someone? He lives in Scotland. Fraser Campbell.
Yeah, I know him. Yeah.
He was on the show, and he's an awesome comic creator. I was just wondering, one thing that I'm jealous of is just the family feel that the UK comic creators I feel like have. You guys are all very supportive. I wish it was like that. I wish there was like that here.
Campbell, a great guy. You know what I mean? I've loads of cons with him. I've been drinking with him a few times. You know what I mean, and stuff like that. He's an absolute diamond. You know what I mean? He's such a very funny person as well. You know what I mean? Which is great.
Yeah. No, he's awesome. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, hey, thanks for watching. Those who are here, hit us up in the chat. We got Del Mundo para Todos. I don't know what KLK means, but cool. All right, guys. So let's hit this up. Let's talk about this, guys. Social media ethics, politics, diversity in our comic books. Like how do we manage through this? I mean, it's a very heated time right now with comics, with like I guess the whole world and the whole political spectrum. You know, how does one go through trying to market their comic book, but maybe appeasing the social media waters like politics, like we got like Comicsgate going on right now. We got people who are anti-Comicsgate, people who are pro-Comicsgate. Both sides see each other as a hate movement. It's so confusing. Like frick, let's dive into this and how we can swim through the waters, because as all of us as comic creators, we want to get our comic book to as many people as possible. Just how do we do that? So I'm going to first ask Jeff. Do we need to do creators need to take a side in terms of the political spectrum when marketing their comic or their brand or themselves, or is it safe for them to stay neutral? And by the way, I'm asking everyone in the chat that question. Should you take a side on left and right, or should you stay neutral for your comic book and your brand? What do you think?
Okay, well, it's definitely a very much a tightrope. And what I think is, depending on where you are, what level you are, as far as your professional level, depends on the stand you can take. Obviously, if you're working for a major company, you're pretty much tied down by that company, and probably they're dictating what you can or cannot say on social media. Those who have spoken, let's say Ethan Van Sciver, and those have found themselves without jobs. I think at the more moderate level, more independent level, I think you find yourself having to take a stand, because if you're not, you're going to be driven into making one. So you probably should come out in front and stick what your plan and say, this is what I feel is right, and do so in a way that doesn't denigrate the other side. That's the best chance you have. And when it has gone neutral, I think Artana tried a neutral approach. It backfired as well. So I think one way or another, you're going to be sucked into taking a stand, and just depending on how you handle it will determine how successful you are navigating these waters.
So one thing that I feel though about, because I try to stay as neutral as possible, and I've been told by people on both sides, you got to take a side, otherwise it's bound to happen. What I've noticed is, and this is just personal opinion, we're gonna have a nice discussion, is that the people who tell me to take a side or else I'm screwed and that they add the screwed part, are the people on like the left. And I don't know how I feel about that, because I've talked with people like in Comicsgate, and I'm like, hey, I'm not Comicsgate, and they're like, yeah, that's okay, just don't be a dick. And then I've talked with people on the left, and they go, yeah, that's fine that you're not like, you haven't taken a side, but you better take a side, and it better be with us, otherwise you're hateful. I don't know. What do you think about that, Jeff? Then I'll get to you, Robin.
I think it depends on kind of maybe which window you're looking at. From the left perspective, we see the same thing from the right, we feel the same way about the right is behaving the same way. I think what you're looking at is an issue of, do you believe in integration of all groups or not? And I think that feels, when you get into the position of being a gatekeeper, that becomes a very hot button issue. And I think that's something why a lot of left wingers or left people on the left like me get so fired up about it. You're telling people not to participate, and that seems to be far more hostile than saying, no, you must let them participate. Or that group participate or whatever. So I think it depends on kind of which window you're looking at, which side you fall on, and we all view the other side probably from a very, very tinted, in a very tinted way, and it's hard probably to step back and say what is actually happening in a neutral sense.
Okay.
I'd agree with you there. You know what I mean? We were chatting beforehand, and obviously, I'm of a similar kind of political persuasion to Jeff. You know what I mean? I'm left wing. I'm what obviously I know it's a dirty word in America. You know what I mean? I'm a socialist. You know what I mean? In the idea that obviously I think society as a whole benefits from integration. I think it benefits really well from diversity, and obviously drawing experience and drawing inspiration from different cultures and things like that. We're all kind of working together and stuff, and obviously fact is, when I look at things like Comicsgate, and obviously movements which are quite anti-diversity, you know what I mean, anti-gender equality, I suppose, and things like that, it's hard to kind of wrap your head around it, in the sense of obviously trying to understand that mentality in such a way.
Is though Comicsgate anti like, I don't know, like they've got black creators, they have female creators. Does that make them anti-diverse, even though they have these things?
From my kind of perspective, from what I've kind of, the information I've gleaned about it, you know what I mean, and stuff, and the things I've read, you see a lot of, I suppose it's quite difficult in a way to kind of, I'm sorry if I'm finding it difficult to articulate.
No, you're good.
But basically, I get where you're coming from in that kind of sense, but the idea that you're getting minorities who are then pushing their agenda down people's throats and things like that, I really don't quite understand that. You know what I mean? Or understand where that's coming from, because again, it's more a case of, at the minute, what's happened is the playing field being leveled. That's what's happening. The playing field is being leveled, rather than these people now, you know what I mean? Like, I'm a white man, you know what I mean, and stuff. I don't feel like my liberty and my freedoms and things like that are under attack, and my voice isn't heard anywhere near as much as anybody else. What's happening now is those voices that have always been on the fringe or marginalized and things like that, they're having a much more equal say in things. And I suppose it's a case of, it could be, you know what I mean? People could look at that and say, oh yeah, my rights are being eroded or whichever else, you know what I mean? But I don't think that's the case at all. And my personal opinion is the fact is what's happening is, like I said, the playing field is being leveled. People are getting much, you know what I mean? I suppose our slice of the pie has gotten smaller, but everybody else's slice of the pie is getting bigger, and it should be equal. I'm an equalitarian. I think, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff should be, well, we should draw in from all those different aspects and stuff. So.
Well, I think my question is, I mean, the playground seems big enough for everybody, so why are you excluding anybody? I mean, face it, comic books are not, I mean, the industry isn't that large. The amount of room for expansion is enormous. And the idea that you want to take advantage of it or not want to include as many people as possible, different groups as possible, not only is it erroneous, but it seems almost absurd. So from a left perspective is, why would you shut that gate? And it's a little infuriating to think anyone would say, I can tell you to shut that gate for you. And someone like me would say, face it, there's not that many of us. For any one reader you can bring into the comic book industry, not only benefits that person, but that could be a person who then can be stretched out to buy my book, somebody else's books. Why would you ever say no to anybody? If that's right.
Well, like a business kind of sense, you'd want that net to be cast as wide as possible, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I was talking with with my friend Justin we were doing a stream one morning. We just woke up like really early and we're drawing. Well, I woke up, he was still up because from his work. And we kind of had we were talking about this very issue. And before I get into that, I kind of want to read the chats, what people are saying in the chat right now, if you don't mind, guys. We got Britton here. We said there, everyone is entitled to their own opinions, as well as we are. What they do is up to them. We got Carl's amateur hour. There's no easy answer. I think it would be best to take a stance that's as respectful to the other side of the aisle as possible, so as to not alienate a giant portion of your audience. One thing I've seen, I want to go into that, is we've got I've seen artists like Greg Capullo. You'll never see him take a political stance because he knows on social media, because he knows he's got fans on both the right and left. And that's why you'll never see him in a battle on social media. Whereas you might see other creators get heat, like, oh, I voted right. And they're like, oh, the left will come at them, or I voted left and the right will come at them. So I'm someone who's very much into staying neutral. We got Christopher C. SJW media and literature is doomed to fail because they will eat themselves. Stay neutral. A good story will appeal to all audiences. I actually want to talk about that. We got Hobus Tobu. Not gonna lie, I've never seen you on the show. Thanks for being on the show and watching and participating. Let's see what you guys say. Hey, Comicsgate is all about big companies shutting down smaller indie comics that aren't PC. That's literally what they started. It comes down to, are you cool with stopping free speech or not? And then we have Brayton and they're conversing, reading it, and then Christopher seeing reading is an escape for this bullshit life. So one thing that I've noted that Justin and I were saying is that we agree everyone should be given a voice. If you're a woman, if you're LGBTQ plus, I'm very not politically correct, everyone. So if I say something rude, I apologize now. If you're transgender, if you're a feminist, meninist, if you're, even if you are, if you believe in free speech, even if you're a racist, however, you should not tweet or do anything. If you are a racist, you can say it, we don't want to see it. But no, I don't think anyone's, and that's another topic. But basically, in a nutshell, everyone should have their own voice. What my problem is when I guess political, when my favorite superhero, if Batman is fighting the Joker and then Batman punches the Joker and the Joker is like, this is all because of your white privilege and blah blah, and starts giving me a political lesson. For me, I go, okay, hold up, I'm just here to read Batman. But if you want to touch onto your political issue or tell me, I believe you should create a comic book for that. And do it through Image, and then I think sell. For me, I think the big thing is that mainstream comics, they're not very what's it called? I feel like they're alienating their old fan base for these new political ideas, and I think mainstream comics should stay somewhat neutral or at least hit both sides. Like, look at Marvel Civil War. It hit on issues on the left, it hit on issues on the right, and it made the reader decide. Whereas I feel like a lot of Marvel comics these days are just hitting you with the left and saying the right is bad. What do you think, Jeff? And then we'll hit you up, Robin.
Well, I would say, I mean, for as long as there's been comics have been political. The early days of Superman, he was fighting quite often slumlords, because that's before he became super powered up. He was fighting corrupt politicians. Green Arrow in the Neil O'Neill days was ultra liberal. Comic books, X-Men, a lot of what Marvel characters are when they started were ultra political, or at least in subtext. That's part of the DNA of these comics.
Green Arrow was always very liberal, which that was what made him unique in my eyes. He was I think the first superhero social justice warrior.
Well, like I said, keep in mind, so was Superman when he first was fighting in the early 40s. But I think the importance of it is recognizing that that politics do exist in the DNA of comic books, and realizing that in many ways these characters exist to fight for those who can't fight for themselves, and that is an analogy for sometimes what's happening with diversity. So it's there, and you can't walk away from it. And it's not your cup of tea. I'm sorry to hear that, but I think it's okay to voice your opinion, to talk in a way that's for those groups who are disadvantaged, and I think that's what comic books are for.
But what happens though when those opinions aren't being well received, and then the sales of a book go down? Robin, what do you think on that? And then also, real quick, everyone, Larry Higgins just joined. Larry's a good friend. He's come on the stream a bunch, and Larry, after Robin gives his answer, I'll ask you a question, Larry.
Yeah, sure, brother.
I suppose when it comes down to things like that, fact is, I mean, what you've got at the moment is you've got a lot of different, I suppose a lot of kind of new to a lot of people, kind of political ways of thinking, I suppose, and perhaps you are finding that Marvel and DC are testing the waters, I suppose, to see how people may feel. And unfortunately, we live in a very polarized time at the moment, and so obviously, and I don't know whether social media is a good thing for that, because of what you've got effectively tribalism at the moment. Have my side right? No, I'm not going to listen to what you think. I'm not going. You know what I mean? I know how I feel. My opinion's the one that works and stuff like that. And so what you're finding is there's a lack of discourse, or there's a lack of not discourse, but there's a lack of discussion there, I suppose. But like I said, this is my opinion anyway, and you don't seem to have a lot of people trying to sensibly settle their differences. But what you've also got is a lot of people, but you know what I mean? I mean, like, again, before we came on stream, I was saying about the fact that I know people who've been targeted in the kind of Comicsgate things, and they've been really, really treated like, I don't know if I can swear. Can I swear? They've been treated like shit.
Go for it. Yeah.
I mean, it's like just being themselves. You're saying, obviously, you get people should just create a comic to represent that. I know someone who's created a comic that fully represents who they are and everything else, and because they're making that comic, they're being targeted and treated like, they're being treated like shit, and so I don't quite understand. You know what I mean? I don't quite understand where people are. You know what I mean? People feel that they are justified in their actions to do that.
I agree. I agree with you totally. You should. I agree with the fact that the harassment. You can disagree with something. You don't, though, need to harass. I will on that, and I say that on both sides, left and right. Like, both sides need to chill with, but I also feel like it's like 10% on the left, 10% on the right, and then like us people on the 80% who don't do any harassing are like, we're caught in the middle of it, and we're like, no, we just want everyone to be happy.
You know what I mean? I think that's where people's anonymity on the internet kind of helps, I guess. And obviously that disconnect of fact is, it's not like say this. Obviously, we're all different players, but we're all talking to one another, and we can all be civil about stuff. You know what I mean? Like when that's not there, you haven't got. It comes down to like I suppose basic kind of behavior, basic communication. Fact is, you're taking away a lot of different a lot of things that are that we need to understand when people are communicating with one another, like obviously facial expression, tone of voice, stuff like that, and that's gone. That's gone in like so with social media, you know what I mean, and stuff like that, and obviously Twitter and Facebook, because obviously it's all text based. So you read it, if you've got a preconceived notion of this person's got a different opinion to me, and you read something and you're going to completely take it out of context in your own head and see it as an attack, that's just going to ramp things up, you know what I mean, as well. So like the discourse, like you say, it needs to really dial back.
I totally agree. Before I ask Larry a question, everyone, thanks for watching. Hit us up in the chat if you have any questions for the panel, and also go check out Jeff's book, The Nightmare Patrol. It's on Comicsology. It's $2.99. It's awesome. Also, go on Kickstarter. Check out Tragic Tales of Horror, HORRERE, Volume 1 on Kickstarter. That's Robin's anthology book. They are almost funded. They have 129 backers. The art is great. Just want to plug that in with you guys before we got lost into another thing. But guys, this is why they're on the show, to have a cool discussion and hang out. But also, we're here to promote their books as well. And I read some of the Tragic of Horror at work, and my boss was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, ugh. So, all right. So we got Larry here. Larry, the question I have for you is, what do you think is important for comics in terms of like the social political landscape? How does the mainstream deal with it? How should indies deal with it? And then is it worth it for mainstream comics to continue doing what they're doing, even though the sales are showing that people might not be liking it, even though it is giving a voice to people who deserve to have a voice? What do you think, Larry? Go for it.
All right. Well, your question is probably about 100 questions in one.
That's why I asked you, Larry, because I know that I can ask you such a complicated question.
You know, there is a decline in sales. That much is obvious. People have been trying to pinpoint the reason for said decline now for a few years. Is it people trying to drive home a political agenda? Is it just the younger generation are just not interested in buying paper books anymore? Is it just that they're reading too much manga, spending too much time on devices? Is it just a dying medium in general? I would imagine the decline in sales in comic books is a lot of those things and none of those things all at the same time. You know, to try and pinpoint one single reason why there is a decline in sales, I don't think there is a single reason. I think there are a jumble of reasons. I do think there's a reason why that Indiegogos and Kickstarters are doing extremely well right now, because people are searching for an alternative to what they're getting on the shelf. I do think there is a disconnect when you see a comic book that is overly politicized, and there are some out there. When you buy Mockingbird #3, you're looking to buy a Mockingbird comic, but when you see it, the very first thing that's in your face is a T-shirt that says, "Ask me about my feminist agenda." Now I have to ask myself, is this going to be a story about a superhero named Mockingbird, or is this some writer's political message to me? And when it gets past a certain point, you know, I become disassociated with it. I don't want to buy that, you know. There was a comment in your chat where a guy said, you know, I read Spider-Man, but every Spider-Man comic I've been reading lately is just forcing these messages down my throat. And that's too bad that, you know, you want to read Spider-Man. You know, when I was 11 years old, I wasn't worried about politics. I just wanted to see Spider-Man beat up Doc Ock, you know. I just wanted to see the X-Men, you know, do their thing. But now comic book creators have, some of them, not all of them, but some of them have really used this platform to drive home messages that go outside the realm of entertainment. And I do think that people are disassociated with that. Do they have the right to do it? Sure. You know, Image Comics is a great example you brought up, Tyler, where people have the platform to go on and write what they want to write. And I've always been a huge advocate of do your own thing. Just allow me to do mine. My problem, you know, comes out sometimes when I do my comics and they have sexy covers, is being attacked by people on the so-called left side and saying your covers are too sexy, you're a misogynist, you're a sexist. And my point has always been, I just want to do my own thing. I'll leave you alone, leave me alone. But, you know, with social media now, and social media is a big part of this, is that everyone feels that they have an opinion. everyone can now share this opinion in 5 seconds or less to the world and not give a second thought about it. Where if I'm speaking to someone in person, we always kind of got to watch what we say. There's tone of voice, there's body language, there's jokes between friends. In social media, you get none of that. You get kind of like this dry post that people will often misconstrue in 10 different ways from Sunday. I've talked to guys on both sides of the fence. Tyler, you know this. Like, I'm talking to all kinds of guys on Facebook interviews, on YouTube. I also talked to, quote unquote, and I don't think he is, but the leader of Comicsgate, Ethan Van Sciver himself, and had about an hour-and-a-half interview with the man. And I've asked him all the questions that people want to know. And I came away from that interview going, you know what? He's not a bad guy. He's just a guy with a difference of opinion. And when it comes right down to it, that's what it is. A difference of opinion.
I agree. I was saying to I've been on John Malin's show. He's been on my show. I also had Heather Antos come on my show, and I know that me and Heather disagree probably on literally 100% of everything in our lives, and yet I would have totally hung out with her. Like, I thought she was super cool. We had a really good conversation, and I think it's just one of those, like, you just I'll let you do your own thing, and you let me do my own thing. And I think everyone should just, with the harassment thing. Jeff, what are your thoughts on all of this? And then we'll get to Robin.
Well, for one, the precipitous drop in comic book sales is probably overstated. Right now, we're looking at about 1% a year, which isn't horrible. We were at an uptake for multiple years, going to maybe about 2 or 3 years ago. So the drop isn't as drastic as I think it's being made out to at the moment. And I also will always say that one shouldn't ever harass another person. I mean, that no matter what side you fall on. I think the issue, once again, is whether or not do you feel as a creator that is ethically important for you to discuss these issues that are to you important. Once again, and the other question is it okay to be ignorant of ignorance if you want to take that leftist version of it? I guess the point is it okay to say it's wrong to let someone not eat a piece of cake, or is it wrong to say the person's never allowed to eat a cake? I mean, it's saying it's okay for you to not want to give sell that person a cake. That was a big issue. But then it's okay to, from the other point, saying on the right to have it. Once you remove a right from a group, that causes that side to become extremely fired up on that issue. And I think that passion for that issue becomes more apparent and a little harder probably to tamper down. But I would say once you get to the point of harassment, you're wrong no matter what side you're on.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And going with that, I know I'm very pro-free. I'm a very big free speech person. And I really think that all views need to be heard. If you're transgender, make a comic that talks about your views. If you're gay, lesbian, talk about those views. If you have like an interest, if you're Muslim, put that out there. And what the best way for me, I think, is Kickstarter, Indiegogo, Image Comics. But also, one thing, there's nothing wrong with I think everyone should tell stories. Everyone has stories to tell. But big thing that us creators want overall is we do want to make some money with our comics. And if people aren't, like, if I wrote a book that was all about a transgender person and then no one like bought the book, does that mean that, that I shouldn't have written the book? No, but does the market want it? Maybe not. I don't know. Robin, what do you think?
I think what you were kind of saying there, I mean, like, I wouldn't try and write a book for of somebody transitioning or something like that, because that's not something that I know. You know what I mean?
Sorry, I should have said if I was a transgender and then writing a book on my own experiences. That was my bad.
I mean, I can try and put myself in the mindset when I'm writing of different people, but I don't. Me myself, I wouldn't try and tackle something like that big, because obviously I don't feel like I've got, well, not the right, but I've definitely not got the necessary experience, I suppose, to talk about those kind of things. But like getting back to the question, at hand and stuff, I think Jeff hit it on the head, and obviously yourself as well, with regards to things like harassment. you know what I mean. Obviously, there's no need for harassment because the fact is, when you boil everything down, everybody who reads comics wants to read comics. You know what I mean and stuff. And fact is, you know what I mean. You had you had things like Transmetropolitan coming out in the 90s. You know what I mean. At the same time, and obviously, Witchblade was at its height, you know what I mean, and stuff. And you could say that those two comics were completely different sides of the spectrum, and they were both there for everybody. And even now, you've got that. But I think what it is at the moment is the world is very polarized. The world is very, you know what I mean. You've got to think of obviously there, not that there's no center ground, but you've got the center ground's disappearing. I think that I was reading recently. There's been a big kind of oh God, it's far too early here in the UK. I'm trying to think of the word. There's been a big convention, sorry, in Australia, and there's been like it's like a kind of free speech convention and stuff like that. And the people like Stephen Fry speaking there, Niall Ferguson and stuff like that. They're saying basically that the idea of traditional liberal, they're saying things like traditional liberalism's dead. There's a lack of like the center, you know, there's a lack of center ground and stuff like that. There's a lack of people. There's a lack of people talking to one another. There's a lack of dialogue, you know. And I suppose that could be a massive problem. And obviously, I don't think you can sit there and say Marvel and DC and the bigger comic publishers shouldn't be trying to tackle these things at all. I think from a bit again, like I said earlier, from a business sense, I think it makes perfect sense to try and tackle them because it's the zeitgeist, isn't it? That's what's going on at the moment. These are big things within society, you know what I mean. And for them to ignore those kind of issues, I think would be remiss. But I mean, I want to read comic books that have like a kind of not a political slant, but I want there to be an awareness of people's politics and stuff like because that's life. You know what I mean? The fact is that's just how life is. You can't go through life being ignorant to these things. I have a lot of conversations with people where people are very, very ignorant of politics. You know what I mean? They don't get involved in it. The fact is, politics governs everything we do, whether we like it or not, whether you're a libertarian, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, or over here in the UK, you're Conservative, Labour, Liberal Democrat, whichever, you know what I mean? Green Party. The fact is, politics governs pretty much everything that we do, whether we want it to or not. And to be ignorant of it and to say that you want that completely cut out of a medium, you know what I mean? I know comics are entertainment, books are entertainment, movies are entertainment, stuff like that. But you think of some of the biggest films that have you know come out and stuff, and big books and things like that. There are political messages at the heart of it, whether they're overt or not. You know what I mean? And stuff. So I think there'd be. I think what would happen is basically that I think it would impact comics and it would impact entertainment as a whole if we started saying, well, no, let's take the politics out of everything.
Mm-hmm. Well, I agree with you.
You know,
I totally agree with you. And really quick, I got Scott Bruckner on here, and he says, if you ask me, these societal topics can be really good freaking stories. If the writer knows how to tell a story, if they don't know how people will get upset. You know, a lot of my favorite comic book stories, they have politics in them. Just what they do is they show both sides, and they don't tell you what's right or wrong. They just make you think about it. And I think that's, for me, one thing I'm like kind of I've been struggling with like current Marvel comics is they you know, be political, fine, but you're not really hitting both sides. You're hitting kind of just one, whether you're right or left, and just shoving into my face.
Well, they're not being neutral.
Yeah. So yeah, Larry, I was going to ask you, Larry, like, what do you see with, like, you know, you're a big Marvel Comics guy. What do you think?
Well, I don't think they're being neutral. I think that Marvel Comics is primarily dominated by left-winged creators who want to push left-winged agendas. That's what I think. That's what I see when I read their books. That's why I stopped buying Marvel Comics. That's why I've dived more into the indies. I don't want a political message driven home to me. Now, there was the argument made that politics have always been in comics, but it was a different sort of politics. You know, it wasn't this self-entitlement politics. It was, you know, politics sprinkled in here and there. But now almost every issue you see is driving home some sort of creator's own agenda, right? And I think politics could be in comics. I think that people should be made to think, and people should be aware. But I think it should be done with a more neutral sort of aspect, as opposed to, like, here's the thing. I live in Canada. I never gave a crap about politics until Trump became president. Okay, no one cared about
I don't think
politics,
anyone
honestly.
cared about politics until
But
then.
and this is when all this sort of started. Trump became president, and in social media just had this huge divide, right? This huge divide. And not only did it, divide people politically, it divided things in entertainment, including comic books. It's just a trickle-down effect. All this is, honestly, is left versus blue. That's, or sorry, right versus blue, or red versus blue, whatever you want to call it. Democrats versus Republicans. That's all this is. And until that gets squared away, here's the thing, Tyler. I announced this on Facebook today. I'm starting a group for comic book creators that want to be a part of it that leaves politics at the door. You don't come into this group with your political agenda. I don't care if you're right-winging or left-winging. You leave it at the door, and we just make cool comic books again.
Make comics great again.
Yeah, no, seriously.
No, I saw that post, and let me know when you start that group. I'd love to check it out. We got Christopher.
I would love for you to do interviews on that page.
No, dude, I'm always up to do a good interview.
Absolutely.
We got Christopher C here, and he said a word that I was wanting to say. I couldn't figure out the word, but he said, yes, indeed, nuance is a very hard skill to pick up. I think that's something that we've lost in the comic book medium is nuance, is the ability to tell a story with a political agenda and still
have it feel like a superhero book. Yeah.
Like I'm gonna go back to Mark Millar's Civil War. For me, I felt that was I thought it was about, you had the school blowing up. I thought it was about they had the superheroes at a register. And I felt it was a very big, are we, how is society taking violence? And I was thinking of gun rights and whatnot. And it was cool I felt that book was so cool because it showed the superheroes as they were divided like human beings are. And you were like, yeah, I lean more with Captain America. But then I lean more with Spider-Man, you kind of understand the different emotions that some of these heroes would go in these political stories. But then you also their views would be challenged. One thing when I was working at the newspaper is I was the only person who was, right-leaning there. And I said, hey guys, listen, if you can present me a good, viable argument, I will switch whatever side, whether it's climate change or any of that. Someone was like, well, Tyler, did you look at NASA? And I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. And I'm really, if you can present to me a good argument, and I felt like that's what, Civil War did, was it was nuanced, and it presented good arguments, and, it didn't say what was right or wrong, but you got to see these characters, figure these things out. We got Scott Bruckner again saying the best superhero stories with politics have political events that concern the heroes of the story, like making it mandatory that the government that's Civil War. Dang it, man. I don't know, but one thing I do, and it's hard because I'm someone who is I want everyone's voice to be heard. I don't care what your political thing is, but do you have to take a side? Jeff, we were talking about this, that at some point we're going to have that everyone's going to have to take a side. But do you think that this is all going to mull over soon? Everyone's just going to, once the red and the blue drama, do you think that things will calm down, or do you think this is something that's soon to going to be a permanent part of our indie comics world?
I think it's an incoming eruption. The issue being, once again, as Larry, mentioned, that the idea of Donald Trump, he is going to be a fire starter for the next 2 years, regardless, one way or another, and that's going to generate a lot of this. Tensions are still going to rise high as different rights are perceived to be being given or taken away. I don't see that something that's going to go away anytime soon. The only question is, in which direction does it go in, and what is the collateral damage in the wake of this happening?
What do you think the collateral damage could be, Jeff?
Mostly, you're looking at careers for people. You're going to have collateral damage. Could be conventions as well. The issue being those who take extreme views may have difficulties at conventions as far as dealing with crowds, dealing with people potentially even protesting them if they're strong enough in their stance. So there's a lot of, I think your main collateral is going to be professional. I don't think the comic books are going to see a massive drop due to this, because I think a lot of the fan base already has chosen their characters, have chosen their universe. It's almost like a religion. You're born into it. I think you're going to mostly stay with it for most people. But I think you're mostly looking at people's careers either being built by this or destroyed by this, depending on how the things go.
I totally agree. I totally agree. And real quick, before we ask my next question to Robin, did you guys know that Jeff has a book on Comixology called The Nightmare Patrol, where you can go on Comixology.com and for $2.99 get his #1 issue? And by the way, the art looks great. Please check it out. If you don't have $2.99, go mow someone's lawn. Also, did you guys know that Robin has a Kickstarter going on right now called The Tragic Tales of Horror Volume 1? And it has 129 mother freaking backers, 24 days to go, and is almost basically funded. I can't do the math very well, but I know they need $3,900 and they're already at $2,600. 24 days to go. I read the first couple pages at work. My boss saw me. I kind of got semi in trouble, but then I was like, bruh, I was watching Daredevil season 2 yesterday, so chillax. So if you want to support these creators, please check the Kickstarter out. I put the link in the chat. I'm going to put it up again right now, actually. And then I'm also going to put Nightmare Patrol #1 in there as well. Done. I just did that. So click that link. Check it out if you want. Please back the book, because guess what, guys? Robin is from the UK, and guess what? It's like 3:15 a.m. right now.
Yeah, it must be late for him.
But it's fun. Nice to be here.
You know, I used to live in Surrey for 3 years in England.
Oh, brilliant! That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, I live in a place called I live near a place called Selby, which is in North Yorkshire. And I mean, like, it's
I lost them.
Far removed, man. You know what I mean? From how I suppose you know what I mean. You look at obviously American life and things like that. Mm-hmm. I'm quite like, you know how Garth Ennis writes a love letter to like New York and stuff like that, and I want to come to America to kind of experience all that kind of stuff, you know, because obviously I've lived in cities over here. I lived in Birmingham, which is quite a big city over here, you know what I mean, and stuff, and I go to cities quite often and stuff like that, but like, again, I don't think we've got anything on the scale like that you have over in America, and obviously in Canada as well. Like I say, one of my friends has been to used to be in Toronto, I think it was, stuff like that. You know what I mean? And obviously used to go to Vancouver a lot and stuff like that. And obviously just the scale of things is just ramped up and stuff. So again, it can feel quite strange, because like, as much as we get a lot of the things that we've been talking about in regards to like the politics and stuff like that, as much as we do feel a lot of that over here, we do get some. I don't think it's anywhere near to the extent of perhaps, say, like the American, the American community and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because again, comics over here in the UK, you got to think about it. I mean, like the UK is about the size of one state.
Yeah.
If that, you know, and so obviously it's kind of dwarfed. I mean, I think there's elements, you know, but I can't think of any direct experience, I suppose, that I've had of it, you know what I mean, and stuff. And obviously a lot of people I know, there's a few people I know who've obviously who've obviously experienced it and stuff. But yeah, but like I say, just I think with regards to yeah, like I say, being in the UK and being supremely tired and rambling and not knowing what the hell I'm talking about at the moment, you know what I mean? Obviously scale's a big thing. You know what I mean?
Well, one thing that you said earlier is that real quick, guys, I want to say hi, the uncanny Kyle Waka.
Kyle Waka's in the chat. He's one of my boys.
And we got Funko Steve.
Funko Steve, another one of my boys.
Yeah, and he says, LP, you're the best, and we also have backing that Kickstarter, right? Meow.
Thank you very much. Meow indeed.
So thanks, Funko Steve, and yeah, everyone, please check out those links, and everyone also Nightmare Patrol #1, $2.99 on Comixology. There's 3 freaking issues. How great is that? Not just
I just shared his Kickstarter on my page.
Sick. So one thing I like what you said, Robin, is that with social media, one thing that kind of sucks about it is that we've lost as people, we have lost the ability to have conversations. I can just really quick post something like "you're racist," boop, and then it's done. Whereas, and I could be like, "Oh, Jeff, liberal," and then I could be like, "F you," and then that's all the interaction I have. Whereas, Frick, one thing I enjoy about doing a live show and having different creators come on is, you realize that like politics aside and what you believe. You guys are all people that I could go to a bar with, and even though I'm Mormon, I'll drink water. I'll still have a drink with you. We could talk comics for hours. We could have a great time. Screw our politics. But I think because of social media, we've lost that conversation. Larry, I mean, you do a live stream. What is your feelings on talking with different people?
Well, look, here's a great example. I saw a guy. Now I'll leave his name out of it, but he made a post. He's a creator. Probably fairly successful Kickstarter book. And he made a post today, and this post said, if you vote for Trump, unfriend me now. Period. That's the criteria for being his friend is if you voted for Trump, you can't be his friend. Now, I'm in Canada. I never voted for the man. I probably wouldn't have voted for the man anyway. But let's just say that I did.
What if my dad wanted to buy his comic book? Does that mean my dad's money isn't green anymore?
Right. Well, that's just it. You're alienating at that point potential buyers and consumers based on politics alone. When if I probably met that guy who made the post and we just sat down, like you said, at a bar and had a beer and shoot the shit, politics would probably never even come up. When I go to a convention, these aren't the talks that I'm having with people. When people come up to my table, they're not coming up to me and going, so what do you think about this right-wing blah, 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 or this left-wing ideal? Those things aren't coming up. What's coming up is, hey, I love your book. I love the art. I want to check this out. What do you got coming up in the future? You know what I mean? It's real fan talk. But you don't get that on social media because people on social media are very quick to drop their opinion, and they all think their opinion is right. And if you disagree with them, you are now all of a sudden wrong and the enemy. And this comes down again to if you voted for Trump, unfriend me. I thought that's the most ridiculous thing to post ever. Nothing like alienating half the people that could have been really good friends to you, regardless of who they voted for. It's how you treat me. If you voted for a guy I didn't vote for, Tyler, but you're a cool shit to me, I'm going to be a cool shit to you. That's just how it works.
Opposite for me, Larry. If I find out you voted someone different than me, like
I'm done. It's over.
You're done. But it's true. The day that Trump got elected, I went to the newspaper. Everyone was sad, and everyone was kind of like screw you, Tyler, because I did vote for him. They're like screw you, Tyler. But I had a really great conversation with this guy Adam, who voted for Hillary, and we sat there and we talked for 2 hours. We had the best discussion, and he was like, "This is how I feel," and I was like, "This is how I feel." And we were both like, you know what? I agree with some points on your side now, and I disagree with my own points. And you just have those conversations with people. I think, yeah. Yeah, you realize, even talking right now, talking to, Rob and Jeff, who I know we have different political, beliefs. I'm like now in my head, I'm just like, yeah, you know what? Absolutely. I'm changing some of my beliefs because, like I've said, if you can present with me something like a good argument, I will immediately start rewriting my DNA. Oh no, I can't rewrite my DNA.
Well, at least you're smart enough to do that, right? Some people, even if they hear a good, valid point, are so steadfast in their beliefs, it doesn't matter how much sense you make to them, they'll still just shut it out,
Agreed. Yo, people, guess what? I just put in the chat Nightmare Terror #1. It's on Comicsology. It's got great art. Please hit that link in the chat. And we got Christopher C saying at least having conversations, I'm guessing, he says, is better than trolling. Yeah, I think there are a lot of social media trolls.
Yeah, no, totally. And I think, like you said, the fact is, what happens is with social media, this is just my opinion, my perspective, stuff like that, is you get boiled, your points get boiled down, or like basically by us talking, you get all different aspects of people. Fact is, just because I'm socialist leaning, that doesn't make up the whole of who I am, or you know what I mean? Like my parents are right wing, like my parents are conservative.
Just because you're a socialist doesn't mean you hit every checkbox of what that is. That's not.
It doesn't make up the who I am. You know what I mean? And it doesn't make up doesn't make up everything that I have to say. You know what I mean? And stuff with regards to like the writing that I do and stuff like and things like that. It doesn't make up all those aspects. It's a big part of my personality and a big part of like the way I see the world and stuff. But it doesn't mean that just because I'm a socialist and I've got friends who are conservative, you know what I mean? Obviously, which would be Republican and stuff like that. I've got friends who vote that way. It doesn't mean I'm going to exclude them from my life. What it was, like I say, I think again, it's easy to pick with social media, not just one side, but like a specific point. And what that does then is that completely narrows your viewpoint of somebody. You know what I mean? And obviously, to talk about, and it goes from everything. It goes from the fact that look at things like the last Star Wars film, Batman versus Superman, right? And obviously going backwards, further and further back, and like divisions and things like that, right back to when Michael Keaton was cast as Batman. And again, that wasn't social media. That was like people in like fan clubs and stuff. Really, the hatred of the idea of Michael Keaton being Batman. And we all sit there going, he's my Batman. Michael Keaton is my...
But back then, no.
But people hated that because he'd been in rom-coms and stuff like that. And I think what it is it's just a case of people like to disagree, don't they? You know what I mean? I think people liked it, but like we've all said, there's none of the nuance there. There's none of the nuance, and there's none of the other aspects of people's personalities and stuff.
No,
and so
no one. It's not who. I mean, frick, I'm very. You should be able to see everything. Just because you voted for whoever you voted for, it doesn't mean that you encompass all of those things. Every individual person has so many different experiences, and people are like, oh, Tyler, because you're Mormon, you must hate LGBTQ people. And I'm like, well, no, that's not what we believe. But I'm actually I have tons of friends who are in the LGBT community that I talk to, and they're good friends of mine. And I have different viewpoints on like certain things. Just because you are labeled something doesn't mean that's who you are.
But we're in a society now that is how it works, or at least how people deem it works.
Yeah.
I talked to Ethan Van Sciver on a live stream. I've been now labeled a Nazi.
You weren't?
I was.
Yeah, it's totally true. And I feel like, we need to get back into a society where you can have conversations with people, and you can, you should learn how to change. I had two experiences last year, and one experience last year, one experience this year that made me like shift my like belief on the Second Amendment, which is the right to own guns. I was walking down a hallway in school, and someone's gun went off because his book, he had it loaded and everything, and his book hit the trigger, and the bullet went through his backpack, hit a wall, and almost hit a girl and me. And I was like, oh my gosh, we gotta get the guns off the street. Like, I was very anti-guns for like a week, and then I was like, okay, I'm fine. Like, that was fine. Like, I'm alive. No one got hurt. That guy's an idiot. And then I went shooting, and I shot an AR-15, and I was like, oh my gosh, there is like no reason why I should ever. I was like fine shooting a pistol, but then I was like, and I was like, oh my stars, this is. My cousin's like, what'd you think? So powerful. I'm like, yeah, get that on my face. You should be able to change your things. So real quick, guys, I want to get into the chat, and then I have one more question for every single person. Then we're gonna end the stream because I need Robin to go to sleep. So real quick, we got Green Raptor Studios. That's Peter Ahola. I hope I said him right, man. It's Peter. I'm a very open person who likes to look at things from all angles. That's something you should do. Britton, you got to keep the street cred. Tyler, I know I'm a really good shot, by the way. Christopher C. No bad trolling is awful, hurtful, and ugly, but intelligent and subtle troll can change the hearts and minds with laughter. Oh my stars. So yeah, all right. So here's the final question, and I want to ask, and real quick, thanks guys for being on the show and taking time to do this. Everyone, if you aren't watching this live, go to the description down below, and I'm gonna link up to their comics so that they're on there forever. So Jeff, who has the Nightmare Patrol #1 on Comicsology, issues 1 to 3, $2.99. Check it out. Final question is, what ways are you promoting your comic book to either get more sales or and to market yourself more? And are you using politics to do that? And is it working or is it not?
Okay, for promoting, I mean, there's the standard route. Obviously, conventions are important. I will say I also do calls store to store. I've called maybe 400 stores so far for them to carry the comic book and let them do some of the promoting for me, and then promote the store. And it's usually you find it easier to promote the store, and by doing that, encourage them to promote your comic book than it is to try to promote your own comic book quite often. The other way you promote, once again, is through social media. Do I use politics to promote my book? I mean, I think I talk about politics a lot on my social media page and Twitter. And do I think that's helping me?
Has it helped or hurt, I guess?
At the moment, I think at the level where I'm functioning, it's probably doing neither at the moment. However, if it is helping me on, and I would probably lean that it's helping me versus not helping me. But at the moment, I would say it's probably neutral. At the moment, it's neither hurting nor helping.
All right.
That's not the way I discuss politics online. And I just want to say one other thing from a writing standpoint. Subtext of ideas does work better than in your face with any issue. And that should be just a writing lesson across the board. People tend to be more pushed usually handle things at arm's length that are shoved in their face. Subtext usually does suck someone into the idea, and it's usually easier to convince them of something. So that's just a writing tip.
Boom! I'm splicing that, and I'm gonna put that into a meme so I can share that on everything, because that is like that. It's gonna be like the perfect advice, and for writers, like, that was awesome. Everyone, real quick, check out my screen. What is this? Oh, is this the Nightmare Patrol #1? Look at that sexy comic. Holy crap, there is blood, and there is people shooting. I mean, guys, look at this art. I really like it. The coloring is great. I'm just going to go to the second issue real quick for you guys to see it, because I liked this cover. Guys, come on. So it has Haas and Haas. Who's the second Haas?
I actually wrote it with my father. He's the one who introduced me to comic books and writing. So when I decided to make this comic book, I wanted to do something as a father-son thing. And
that is amazing.
He's the second Haas on the list.
That is freaking inspirational. Everyone,
Thank you.
The Comicsology, the Nightmare Patrol #1, check it out. Robin, same question. What are you doing? What are you doing to market your Kickstarter right now? To market, I guess, all of your books that you do. And then are you using politics, helping or hurting you, do you think? Or do you think it just doesn't even matter?
Right. With regards to marketing and stuff like that, obviously social media is a massive thing. I wouldn't be doing anything in comics, to be honest with you, if it wasn't for things like Twitter and Facebook. I don't just do writing, I also letter. I letter for a lot of companies. I've done a little bit for Image. I've done some stuff for companies over here in the UK and stuff, and things like that. You know what I mean? So obviously without social media and without Twitter and Facebook, I'd be nowhere. And so obviously when we're I say we, there's myself and then there's my co-writer Mike Sambrook. When we're promoting our comics, I don't really think politics plays into it, because we're not. I mean, again, I'm like Jeff. I can be quite overtly political on my social media and stuff like that. I will comment on things and stuff like that. I will have conversations and discussions with people about stuff, and I will obviously make my opinion and my feelings known, and stuff. So obviously that's not hidden anywhere. That's for everybody to see, and stuff. But it doesn't really play a factor into my comics. I mean, I've only just started trying to work on a comic which has political kind of subtext to it at the moment, and obviously that's more a kind of political thriller rather than something that's overtly political to make a statement, I think. Regards to being positive or a negative thing, again, I think it's neutral. I don't think it plays any aspect into kind of what I'm doing, you know what I mean, and stuff, and the kind of comics that I'm creating. and so it doesn't really fall into the marketing that we use and stuff. So yeah, it's something that's not really kind of put in comics for me.
Do you think, Robin, that being like putting out politics could either help or hurt you in the mainstream comics? Like, let's say I'm like, oh, I voted for Trump. Do you think I've now lost my shot at working for DC or Marvel?
Do you know?
Because do you think they would just? Do you think they'd be like, oh, but, or do you think that my merit is what should be shown?
You've got to look at obviously you've got people like is it? Oh God, I can never pronounce his name. Howard begins with C. My man, the job. It did some stuff for Image and stuff like that. You've got people on kind of either side.
Shaken?
Yeah, you know what I mean. Probably not the best. As an example, but obviously you've got people of lots of different kind of political persuasions working for Marvel and DC and stuff. And I think it's not about your political leaning or your political standpoint. I think it's about the way that you carry yourself in putting that across. Because again, like you could sit there and say like you voted for Donald Trump because you felt like voting for Donald Trump was a kick in the ass to the establishment and things like that. You know what I mean and stuff. Or I could sit here and say over here in the UK, I voted for Jeremy Corbyn because I believe he's a decent person. I believe he wants to put people first rather than obviously big business and things like that. And obviously, again, it kind of rang true with my own political feelings and standards and stuff. But again, if you're going around calling everybody a fucker and this and that and the other, and basically, I think it's about the way you carry yourself. It's more than anything else. But again, it boils down to your own personal experience. If you've been at the receiving end of a shit ton of harassment, I think politeness is going to go out the window at some point. You know what I mean?
You will break.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's very difficult for people to kind of sit back and just accept things. You know what I mean? With a pleasing grin, because it's very difficult sometimes to walk away from social media. But like, if you're in an argument with somebody in the street or whatever, once you move away from that, it's there, it's gone, it's no more, isn't it? But with social media and things like that, it's there constantly because it stays around. Nothing disappears on the internet.
And you always want to be the one that gets the last comment, and it's never going to happen.
And it's like a reigniting fire, isn't it? You know what I mean? In that kind of sense, it rekindles it and it keeps going and stuff like that. So I think what there needs to be is, I think people need to tone down rhetoric. People need to tone down the way they speak to people and actually remember that what the person at the other end of the screen or phone or whatever is a human being that has thoughts and feelings and emotions like you do. Whether somebody's sat there watching me now going, what a snowflake, you know what I mean, and stuff, that's besides the point. Those people will have complex emotions and feelings like you do, and you don't know what it is that's going to upset them in such a way, or what's gonna really impact on them, because you don't know the things that they've experienced themselves. So I think it's a case of people need to have some common decency and understand that you should speak to one another with common decency.
Boom. I totally agree with that. And everyone, here's the Kickstarter right now. The Tragic Tales of Horror Volume 1. Guys, it's almost there, guys. 24 days ago. 130 backers now. Boom.
Thank you, whoever backed whilst I was on here.
I think that might have been
Uncle Steve, probably.
Yeah, and then also we got Christopher saying I just got the Nightmare Patrol. Can't wait to read it in the chat.
God.
So boom, guys. I hope that. And then finally, Larry, same thing. I've got this. Everyone, drive-through-comics.com. Get Niobe, and guess what? It's not $4 anymore. It's $1.99. You can totally get that. And I think I've got a pinup in either issue 1 or 2.
Yeah, so the 2 Niobe issues are on there. We've done 4 so far, and I've only uploaded the first 2. Someday I'll get around to getting.
Which one was the swimsuit edition?
3.
Dang it! All right, issue 3 is the one where I have my pinup. But Larry, how do you mark it?
That's right. I totally forgot about that, dude.
Yeah,
no shit. So like your question about promoting, I want to hear you promote Niobe. You gave all these other guys like a really good good pitch. I got to hear your Niobe pitch, man.
All right, guys, everyone, let's talk about this. You want a sexy girl named Niobe who is, I'm going to say this because it's not going to be a pitch. It's going to be just kind of a gratitude to Larry. When I first got into making indie comics, I saw that Larry was doing Niobe, and he sent me the first issue so that I could do that swimsuit pinup. And what I liked about Niobe was that she dealt with certain issues that humans go through. Like, was it the first or second issue that that she helped a guy who was going through depression?
First issue.
First issue, and I was just like that for me was like, wow, I can tell an entertaining story, but hit on some serious topics. I was new to making comics and like reading comics, and I was like, oh my gosh, that was my first like sense of nuance as a creator, was seeing Larry's book Niobe. So everyone check it out. It's entertaining. It's going to make you think. He's got some sexy covers. They look great. And guys, can you go wrong with $1.99? I don't think so.
Can I get you just to follow me around and you just say that everywhere we go?
You betcha. I'll be like, so I'll go to convention. Tell me about your book. Oh, have you seen Key and Peele's Angry, the translator? Has anyone ever seen that Obama's Angry Translator?
No.
Obama would be like, he'll be like, all right, guys, we are doing a great job in the election. And then all of a sudden, Peele would be like, yo, go vote. He would just like say what Obama really wanted to say.
So you brought up a good point of like the first issue was Niobe helping a kid who was dealing with thoughts of suicide and depression and stuff like that. The second issue kind of gets into more of the superhero aspect and dealing with a little bit of conspiracies that are going on behind the scenes. I took a course, that dealt with like social issues in comic books, not political issues, but social issues in comic books, things that are going on socially. And depression and mental illness happens to be a big thing that that a lot of people are suffering from, especially being bullied in today's cyber age. So I tackled that one in Niobe issue 1. And Niobe issue 1 is probably still the granddaddy of all our books. Funko Steve is in the chat saying Niobe is epic. He's a backer. Funko Steve and Mike, they run a show called the Unboxing Brothers on YouTube. They are fantastic. If you guys can get them to back your projects, you want them to back your projects because they will unbox them live on their show. They're huge Kickstarter backers. So big shout out to those guys. But yeah, Niobe's on Drive-Thru Comics, $1.99 for each issue. I'll get the other two up there. Right now, we're working on Avani, issue 1, which is the villain, kind of like the breakout star from issue 2. She's getting her own book now. So that's going to be out next month, Kickstarter and Indiegogo's for that. And then in January, it's right back to Niobe number 4. Yeah, there's your pinup right there. This is in the swimsuit issue that you did for us, man.
There's my pinup, guys. I was trying to find the actual comic. It's on a different hard drive, but there's my pinup.
Yeah, there it is. See, now I've forgotten all about that. Did you just remind me that was your drawing?
This is an old drawing.
Your friendship, we go back a little ways.
Yeah.
Because Niobe 3 was at least 2 or 3 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, well, probably I would say 2, maybe 2016-ish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a long time ago. And we got hey, Coffee, hit up Larry Higgins on Facebook. She's asking if she can see some art from Niobe. Coffee,
it's all over Facebook.
Hit up Larry.
Just type Niobe comic in a Google search. It's going to come
up. That's true.
The very first thing that's going to come up on Niobe Google search is us. I got the privilege to work with some really cool cats, and coming up, we're going to be working with some other cool cats. But you were talking about, you were doing lettering for Image Comics, my friend in the UK there. Our letterer is Justin Birch now. He does lettering for Action Lab Comics. So we got to start working with him, which is really, really cool. And we're always looking for people to letter. Paul Green, who's also a fantastic artist from the UK, is doing our variant cover for Niobe number 5. In fact, the cover is done. We just have to have it colored, and Ula Moss is supposed to be the one that's going to color that. R.B. White, who's known for his work also on Zombie Tramp and Danger Doll Squad and Dollface and stuff, and Heavy Metal Magazine, has done our covers for issues 2, 3, and 4. He's also done the cover for Avani number 1. Steve Boyu, who's a local artist here, has been doing all the interiors so far. yeah, so we got to work with some cool cats, and other people have approached me saying that they want to get on this, and it's just a matter of the timing and money. Let's not forget that this stuff isn't cheap. The timing and the money to get the people that we want on this project.
Yeah, making comics is very affordable, isn't it?
As far as promoting, it's doing stuff like this. I love coming on a live show and talking about comics, whether it's my comic or someone else's comic. So this is a big thing I would encourage people to do, whether you have 8 people watching or 8 million people watching. If that gets you an extra backer for your project, or if that gets you someone at least interested in looking your way, that's a good thing.
Well, someone today, I tried to get them on the show for like Wednesday, and they said, you don't have a big enough following. I don't want to be on your show. And I was just like, oh, okay, frick, whatever. And we got one backer here for Robin. We have another person who bought the Nightmare Patrol. I mean, yeah, so it's only one person. That's one new person though. Like that's really big.
And this is a business where you have to win your customers one person at a time. You know what I mean? And some of these creators don't get that. For that guy to say to you that you're not big enough, I would like to see where he's going to be in 5 years from now. Like that'd be very curious to me, because what, I will talk to anyone. I said this on Facebook. I don't care. Again, you run a show with 8 people or 8 million people. You want me to come on and talk about my comic? I am going to be there if I'm able to do it. You know what I mean?
No, it's true. It's true, and that's just a great way. Hey, guys, if you guys are wanting to market your comic book, please, hit me up on Twitter, hit me up on Instagram. I'm almost running out of Facebook friends. Don't add me on Facebook. And get on the show. And I love, Larry's come on a bunch, and I hope, Robin, I hope that I can do like a morning show, so that it will be like a better time for you. And Jeff, I hope to have you guys on the show again. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
I'd love. You know what I mean? The time thing's not a problem. I can stay up. It's fine. But adult now.
Yeah. I'm just really grateful for everyone who's ever been on the show. Thanks everyone who's been watching. It's been a great time. I hope you learned a lot. Please check out the Nightmare Patrol on Comicsology, and also check out the Tragic Tales of Horror Volume 1 on Kickstarter. We're indie creators. We need all the support we can get. Even if it's just sharing it to your page, that still means the world to us creators. So real quick, I just want where we can find you on social media, and then we'll end this. Jeff, where can people find you on social media?
I have a Facebook page. The Nightmare Patrol is on Facebook, also on Twitter. You can just connect me with Jeff Haas on Twitter as well. I have 2 Twitter accounts.
Perfect. Larry, where can we find you?
Finding me is really easy. Everything is Niobe Comic, right? So all one word, Niobe Comic. I threw it down in your chat there. But basically, Facebook is Niobe Comic. Twitter is Niobe Comic. Instagram is Niobe Comic. My YouTube, by the way, I run YouTube. That's at Niobe Comic. You can find my YouTube channel where I do interviews such like what Tyler's doing. I also do gaming. So the one thing that isn't labeled Niobe Comic is my gaming channel, and that's Rebel Gaming, right? So I run 2 YouTube channels. I got all the social media in the world. Almost everything is found at Niobe Comic. One simple branding for it all.
Boom. And I almost fell off my chair, guys. It was stupid.
I know. I watched you stumble there. I was waiting to see what was going to happen there.
Yeah, my chair's broken. Oh, so anyways, and Robin, where can we find you on social media?
Okay, so you can find me on Twitter at Rob Jones Writes. You can find horror at Horror Comic.
Wait, that's you on Twitter? I follow you this whole time, Rob Jones. What?
That's me, man. Yeah, that's me talking shit into the void on Twitter.
I've been following you for like I think 2 years, and I'm always just been like, this guy knows stuff.
Sorry, but like, there's also Madius Comics, which is like I say, myself and my friend Mike and a few other like-minded kind of individuals as well. We're on there. You can find it, and if you just type in horror on Facebook, we'll pop up. If you type in Madius Comics, we'll pop up. You know what I mean and stuff. So with there, I don't have the synergy of Niobe Comic. I think that's brilliant. I should have done that. You know what I mean? But obviously, I've got a lettering page as well, Rob Jones Letters, just to confuse everybody. Yeah. So there's the lettering page on Facebook too. If you like lettering and sporadic posting about lettering, you know what I mean? There.
Boom. I can't believe I've been following you for like 2-3 years, man. That's absolutely crazy. All right, everyone, hit the subscribe button if you haven't, if you're not a part of the Drawn Talk community. I really think we're building up something cool here, slowly but steadily. Funko Steve, I want to get on your show one of these days. And everyone, hit the like button, comment. Thanks so much for who's been watching. Tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Mountain Time. So same time that we do the shows on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We're gonna have Ethan Nicole on the show. Hopefully, I've been DMing him like last couple days. He was where he's going to talk about his new book, Bearmageddon, something about a bear. But he's also been he's also a writer for Teen Titans Go, Veggie Tales, The Babylon Bee. Yeah, don't know about The Babylon Bee, but I know Veggie Tales and I know Teen Titans Go, and he's going to be on the show. I hope you guys check it out. And then Thursday, we're going to have a creator hangout. If you're an artist, please come on the show. We're going to be talking comics, and we're also going to be drawing Red Sonja.
Oh man, I'm not an artist, but definitely, I love Red Sonja. I got the first appearance of Red Sonja just like right above my head there in Conan 24. You know.
Oh man, it's gonna. I know for a fact that it's gonna be real. My Red Sonja is gonna be absolutely crap. But if you are an artist, hit me up on the Twitter, on the Instagram if you want to be on the show on Thursday, and we'll get you on the show, and that's going to be at 6 p.m. But yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks so much, Jeff. Thanks so much, Robin. And thanks so much, Larry. Everyone, peace out.
Nice meeting you guys. Have a good one.